Comes in a small box like this. You can see V2 hybrid, back wired, and then made in Poland. They are made in Poland. Now the owner, I believe he's the owner, he has sent me a couple of these MOSFETs free of charge to do reviews on. Again, I've had this sitting around for quite a while, so I apologize if he's watching this for not making the video. There's a lot of other videos out there reviewing these already, and I actually use those for reference. The programming is the hardest thing to do on these MOSFETs, in my opinion. You have to use trigger pulls, and you like move the selector switch. It's kind of confusing. I'm definitely, like I said on the Leviathan review, if they could do Bluetooth, I would highly recommend that. The Bluetooth for the BTCs and Jefftrons are so much easier to use. But these are quite a bit cheaper. Like I said, about 75 bucks for one of these. I did install a V2 Perun, their first version, optical version, a V3 and a V2. A V3 is in my friend's AK. And then the V2 went into a customer's gun. I don't remember who. I believe I made a video on it. I can't remember if I did a formal review. This is a formal review on the MOSFET, but I will also show you the gun that it's in and not make a separate video on the gun. So moving along, they did send me a bunch of stickers. Pretty cool logo. I'm not really sure what that's supposed to be honest. Is that like a hexagon, octagon? I've got a patch, so thanks to them for that. And then we have the manual, which also has a bunch of stickers on it. The selector plate stickers, and then you open it up and there's even more stickers. They like their stickers. There's also the adjustment stickers, the settings, which I have seen some people actually put this on their gun. They like put it on their buffer tube. You'd have to pull the stock off to see it, and some buffer tubes may be too tight, and it, when you adjust the buffer tube, it'll rip the sticker off. But it's there, so you can plaster it on something if you want. In the bottom of the box, there is a manual. It's like the card. It's literally a card. Kind of confusing on the adjustment, but I will kind of go over that a little bit later. And then there's this magnet that goes on the trigger. Don't forget that. It's got a magnet on it, and that is actually what activates the trigger, the optical sensor. So most of you guys know, like I said on my Leviathan, I'm not a fan of optical MOSFETs. This is, it says hybrid, but it is a complete optical MOSFET. Everything is optical. The selector plate, the trigger, and the sector gear. So for the gun here, I'll just go over the externals real quick, and then we'll head on to the internals. So externals, what is this, a 16, 18-inch barrel, kind of long. It's pretty bulky. It's a Picatinny rail. There are rail covers on the sides, like the thick plastic ones, and then on the top there's a ladder rail cover. I'd probably recommend ladder rail covers on the bottom too, because it's a little sharp, just here and here. I actually have some of those. This is a PTS pistol grip, or vertical grip, sorry. It's like the stubby, which I actually really like. Not too long, not too short, pretty perfect. There is a pressure switch on here, so I don't know if he has a flashlight or a laser. H&K style pistol grip. I do not like these, in my opinion. Don't really care for them. There is an ambi sling mount on the back here. Metal, of course. And then you have the H&K stock metal buffer tube. Then the optic is an SRS. It's a copy. It's not a real Trijicon SRS, but it does have like the solar panel on the top. I'm not sure if that actually works or not. Nothing's turning on, so I don't know. It may just be mainly for looks. I mean, that is what optics are mainly for airsoft. We have SHS 12-to-1 gears. We have a Garter SP120 spring, SHS metal rack piston, plastic piston head, stock cylinder head, stock nozzle. The VFC nozzles have an O-ring on it. I believe there's an SHS tappet plate in here, SHS high torque motor. I will be testing a high cap, and then also he included this Elite Force mid cap that I did load up. I believe that's the type of mags that he's going to be using. He left this here, so I will try that with it. The battery is going to be the Titan 3000 milliamp 11-1. These are pretty good batteries. So on the MOSFET itself, it is wired to Dean's, like I said. There is no fuse in there, just a digital fuse. The wires are really floppy, so that is something to mention. Some wires on MOSFETs are very stiff. These are floppy. See how it kind of just, you know what I mean? There's no, it doesn't hold its shape. It just is very floppy. And that probably has to do with the inside of the actual wire they used rather than the coating. The coating may have a little bit of effect because it's like a softer rubber almost on the outside. It's very just elastic. Doesn't really matter, to be honest. I kind of prefer wires that are thicker. These more match battery wires. But like BTCs and the Leviathans have a stiffer wire. So it's just something to note. All right, guys. So after a while of trying to program this, I finally got it. I did have to factory reset it a couple times because at first I was just adjusting random things. So the best way I can describe these MOSFETs is they're convoluted, but they're not impossible to figure out, and there's a lot of different settings. I mean, like two-stage trigger, a lot of MOSFETs don't have that. What two-stage trigger is, I accidentally set it. So you could have semi if you just pulled the trigger real quick, and then if you hold it back, it would be full auto. So kind of like an AUG or a P90. So you can have different settings. You could have semi real quick and then burst if you hold it for semi-auto, and then just straight full auto. So you can do a couple different things. Everything is like color adjusted. And basically what you'll do is you'll look into the gearbox and look at the colors. Like in order to start the process, you have to flip the selector switch real quick. It goes into program mode, and then when you switch the selector switch back and forth, we have yellow, we have the blue and purple, which is the binary. I did set binary on. Now I had kind of trouble doing it. So basically to do binary, you have to do it for the semi-auto slot. So for instance, I wanted semi-auto on semi-auto. Well, it's binary on semi-auto, and then for full auto, I put semi. So it is a bit confusing, but the card definitely helps. It's kind of hard to read, you know what I mean? Just like, it doesn't explain the action that you're taking on the selector switch. So it is not the easiest thing to figure out. The optical version, their original optical version, which I'm not sure if they're making anymore, but they were easier to adjust the settings. I know that. They didn't have quite as many adjustments. Like, I don't think it had the two-stage. I'm pretty sure it had the binary. So personally, I'm not too crazy of a fan because they're not as easy to set up as some of the other MOSFETs. Like I've always said, the BTCs and the Leviathans with the Bluetooth app is so much easier to do. If they just had an app, a screen where I could just pick and choose, it's so much easier than using a card like this. But you have price difference. These hybrids are like $75 when BTCs fetch for, you know, over 150, and the Leviathans are 110 to 140. Let's go over the modes. So safety works when I flip to semi-auto. It's binary, and then full auto is single shot. 0.25s. So first we're going to start on semi-auto mode, and I'll show you the trigger pull may be a bit long, but there's no reset because it is a optical. There is no trigger delay, so you can spam it. It is cycle completion. There's like no pre-cocking with this. Still pretty snappy. Let's try binary. All right, now I got a high cap in here. So you can shoot it pretty fast, or you can just keep a kind of consistent cadence. You know, 10 rounds a second or so.
semi-auto. It's just semi-auto. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. Thank you for watching this video. I do recommend the Peruns as much as, like, you know, they're difficult to program. They just are. Now, if you're new to MOSFETs, maybe you won't have a problem with it because you don't have experience like I do with other ones and prefer other ones. Plus, for people overseas, these are probably more accessible, like in Europe, because they're made in Poland. So if you're in Europe, these are probably more accessible